Start incorporating more of our vibration into your daily life. Therefore, you are creating from our space of love more. So that's how we get forward. That's how we evolve forward into the fourth and fifth dimensions. That's our deal. Because your dominant vibration that you're emitting is what you're creating from. And if you're in fear all the time, then you're creating, a fearful experience here.
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I'm your humble servant and Sifu Taoist Master Sun Qing. And once again, I will repeat myself. It's Christmas morning for me. I've been given this incredible gift from the universe, and this amazing being has been brought into my life, and I get to embrace the experience of just sharing the same space and just bathing in the euphoric experience that comes from that very essence, that truth, that access to all things. Welcome, Cindy Edison. How are you?
God, what a wonderful intro. Thank you for all that.
Oh,
That's so
well,
sweet.
it's the
Really.
truth.
I feel your energy too. I feel it. Yeah.
Right. And so I want to welcome you to the podcast, and in just a little bit of a backstory to the audience of how you came to where you are today, being this incredible channel and gift for
Wow.
just pure source information. And I say information, of course, it comes in the form of your very relationship that you have with your channel, your guide, however you define it. And I would love to hear how we got to this point.
Wow. I got to cram in 20 years. Okay, I'll give you the short version.
Mm.
In about 2003, I guess it was, I hit rock bottom. I was on the ledge. My life had stopped within a matter of a couple months, really, and really in 2 weeks. It started going down, wasn't really paying attention, never happened before. So I just thought, okay, I'm in a lull. And I was, and all of a sudden all my friends are gone. My job was gone. I had no money, and a big IRS bill that my ex-husband left me with. And I was scared. I was really scared. And I was at the end. I was living in a loft in downtown Birmingham, Alabama, beautiful loft. And I was laying on the hardwood floor for about 2 weeks. Got up to go to the bathroom, crying the whole time, crying. And I was saying, "You forgot." I was looking at the ceiling saying, "You forgot about me." I really was at the end. And um, a lot of stuff happened to cause that, and a lot of events that I see now that I didn't recognize then, like the losing of the job. And that's where the whole Christianity thing started. And I was raised Catholic, and was in fear of God, didn't know anything, wasn't allowed to talk to God, can't do anything. So they took me into Christianity very quickly, led me there. And the whole unfolding is way too long to get into, but for about 3 years, I was into Christianity, read the Bible several times. I was testing everything, and I was feeling really good. And that's when the communication started. I heard in that 3-year period, toward the last year, really, I heard the audible voice 5 times in about a year's period. Unmistakable, you know that, unmistakable, and never a hesitation for me to act or shift, as I was call it now. And through that time period, I was investigating and all these things, and I started going to a Church of God, trying to find somebody who was teaching the Bible without all the stuff. I just wanted Bible teaching. I wanted to sit in the vibration of it. Didn't know what vibration was then, but I wanted to be in that crowd. And then I did that for a while, and then one day I couldn't find a church I felt comfortable in. It just didn't, I was trying. And so I found 3 television pastors, reverends, didn't know what they were, older guys that were teaching the Bible, very popular. And I fell in love with them. So I stayed home on Sunday mornings with my coffee and my Bible. And I did that for a few months. And then one day, one of them said something that I'd heard them say many times. And I didn't believe it. All of a sudden, I just didn't believe it. And I turned the TV off, stood up in my apartment with my Bible and said, I don't believe you're contained in this book. Now you have to teach me. And I put it down. I didn't pick it up for a very long time. And that's when I started on a new pathway. A few years later, there's so much happened. In 2009, I sat down, I was in advertising for 35 years. I sat down to write an article, and I was sitting with my laptop and trying to think of what I was going to say. And all of a sudden, I just started typing, Dear Cindy. And it was many pages later, and I was just typing. It was very strange to me, but easy at the same time. I wasn't missing a beat, but I was amazed the whole time. I was staring at the screen the whole time. And it was a story about me. And when I go back and read it now, I can't make much sense of it, but that's when the whole thing started. And then, went on and on. 2014, maybe 15, they led me to Abraham, and never heard of Esther or Abraham. And I had been listening to Hay House Radio at work. Just out of the blue, I just started listening to all the shows. I was really very intrigued by everything. And finally, everything I saw was Abraham Hicks all over the place. So finally I said, all right, already, because I was seeing her show advertised on Hay House, but never was interested. So I finally went and found the show. And the first 5 minutes I knew there was something big. So I shifted again. And then my nightly conversations with whoever it was at that time, now I know who it was, began to take a different turn. And so in 2016, they said, we are Abraham. And I started laughing. Yeah, right. And they sound, all of a sudden, I recognized the familiarity that I was feeling with them. So over a year's period, I'm thinking I'm talking to Abraham. And they were telling me all this stuff was coming through, go write the books, did that, all this stuff. So then I had a session with Paul Selig in 17 probably. And we were sitting there on Zoom, and he said, what's going on with you? And I told him I'm channeling Abraham. And they had told me some stuff about Esther's progression and all this stuff. And he said, no, I don't think that's how it happens, Cindy. And I got a pit in my stomach. And I said, I've been duped, all this stuff. It's crazy, And he said, let's go to the guides. And the guides said one line. They said, there is someone who is trying to teach through her, and she needs to ask for their name. So now I'm really intrigued, a little pissed, but intrigued. So I got home, got on my laptop, and I said, what gives with this? And they said some things about Paul, beautiful things about Paul, but they said, we are indeed Abraham. And as we unfold with you, we will explain what that means, and we will reveal our name to you at the perfect time. So now I'm like, really, this is odd, but it felt beautiful. So a couple days later, I was sitting outside and just looking at the nature. It was beautiful, not really thinking anything. And I see as it was right in front of me, as I'm sitting on the beach, I see this propeller plane real slow coming into my vision, and this very bright white plane against this gorgeous blue sky. And it's got these banners on the back of it. And the first banner said Seth, the second banner said Abraham, and the third banner was blank. And as I'm looking at the banner, they said to me, that's us. And then I understood. The connection to Abraham then. And then we went on another pathway, and they started telling me about the message and what it was not really what it was going to be yet, but the preparation for the understanding of the evolution of consciousness itself. And when consciousness evolves, that the messages, the vibrational messages that are in that vibration expand, of course, because everything's always evolving, right? So then I understood. And then now I see how we fit into that progression of the Seth, you create your own reality, because we are in the process of co-creating the new human aspect, the new physical aspect, the new version of us, and our experience on the new earth. So that's it in a very big nutshell.
Woo! I
Yeah.
mean, it's so exciting. I would just want to dive into. So you were an observer of the what someone would define as maybe automatic writing, something of that nature that you were experiencing. Um, everyone's entropy level is different, and there's no really right or wrong way up the mountain. Um, when I engaged with Latsu, my teacher that I talked to on a minute-to-minute basis 30 years ago, he came in like a tornado through my physical body and exploded, and I looked like I was sitting in a sauna at 230 degrees, and everyone in the room was putting marshmallows out and roasting them with the transmission coming out of my physical body. And so how was it? You had a progression. I felt like I was sort of like, thrown in the deep end. Do you feel the kinesthetic sort of like presence of the
Joseph.
yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, I do. I do more so. And it has been a very consistent from my third dimensional aspect, slow progression. Uh, but as I understand it more and more, because I never stop, it's always, and I go, oh, I get that. And then there's another piece to that, never stops unfolding. And once you make that decision to understand that it never stops unfolding, you can relax a little bit. Well, for me anyway, because I was like, I want it now, now, now. What's going on? How come you said this 5 years ago? Nothing happened. Now I understand. Now I understand why. It's amazing unfolding. But in the beginning, um, I I did more so because there was more contrast in my dominant physical vibration and their dominant vibration within my vibration. In other words, I was so focused, as most of the human collective is, so focused on the contrasting vibrations, the chaotic out of alignment, we refer to them as out of alignment, creation, space. We're dominant. We can tell by look out the window, the world's crazy. And it's because it's out of alignment with who we are. And there's so much fear there, just keeps building and building. So that's what my dominant vibration was emitting at that time. So as I shift more and more my physical vibration to be dominant in my soul, it becomes more natural feeling. Like I feel them right now. I feel them whenever we're having these conversations, front and center. And I can go into a meditation and just intend on feeling the vibration of the oneness of myself. I don't do that a lot, but I have incorporated, at their request, I have incorporated the collective me, that vibration of who I really am, into my day-to-day life. They asked me to do that. They said, we don't want to be only front and center, when you're doing an interview or a session or something, or talking about this. We want you to begin to shift your perspective of the separation of how most believe, even me, and I say them, and they always said, say we, start incorporating more of our vibration into your daily life. Therefore, you are creating from our space of love more. So that's how we get forward. That's how we evolve forward into the fourth and fifth dimensions. That's our deal. Because your dominant vibration that you're emitting is what you're creating from. And if you're in fear all the time, then you're creating, a fearful experience here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, 150%. I agree with you. It's interesting just realizing from a simplistic perspective as using the fundamental alchemy practices that I use to discern, affirm direct source information and then to transmute or to shift consciousness so that you can have something that is of a higher frequency transmit, manifest, heal create within this 3D reality,
Yeah.
you need to, in my opinion, refine that as Joseph has said to you. It's like you need to create a very clear line. And I think that's the biggest. Um, I would use the word for most people that are in that space, but they always seem to call on the same word, which is struggle with it, because it is a contending sort of thing.
Right.
Oh my goodness, is this a figment of my imagination? Or am I, where is this coming from? And of course, the more and more you immerse yourself in that frequency, and they become the transmission of the very action, inaction, spoken word, the way that you process these things, you resonate at that. And that's my observation. You resonate there, and
Yeah.
you're able to sort of move from some of your life experience, your personality, and then be very clear and I guess you could say hold that frequency, and it just becomes evident in your very action
Yeah.
or
Well, it
inaction.
has to, because if you, and this is where the beliefs are so powerful, because the beliefs are the vibrational foundation of your creations. So if your beliefs and the belief system and the contrast that we've been accumulating and adopting for thousands and thousands of lifetimes when we've been here, that vibration is in this body of me. I'm just an expanded version of my last lifetime and the one before that and the one doesn't matter. It's a vibrational component to being tethered to the third dimension, you know? And as we shift, we have to do it consciously now. We're moving into a realm we have not experienced as this aspect before, which, which is creating from love instead of fear. Who knew, right? So, the more you change, we don't look at it as it's kind of hard. It's moving away from a personality. We are creating a new version of ourselves, which has to manifest in the physical. If you're calling out to love from your natural vibration of love, what you attract is love from the universe. So the universe speaks to us vibrationally and we translate it physically. That's why we're here. We're the boots on the ground. So when you're focused on love, so as you're shifting consciously, making conscious choices from the position of love instead of fear, out of alignment, in alignment instead of out of alignment, they both just there's no judgment. They both just manifest different experiences. You can hang out in the contrast as long as you want. There's free will and you know, there's no asterisk on that free will. So everything changes. Everything. Your creations change, your relationships change. Most of them go away because now you have vibrated away from that dominant vibration that's in that. We refer to that as collective grouping. People jump on bandwagons of beliefs, not really understanding what the hell they're doing. They just don't know how to make a decision for themselves because they're out of alignment, and they don't trust themselves because their creations, their manifestations have not been good. They have a job they hate. They're fighting with their spouse or their boyfriend, their kids. They're fighting all the time. It's just constant chaos. And the more you focus on that, the more you create of that and you experience whatever you're focused on. So when you shift your vibration, your dominant creative force to love, then everything changes. It has to. And that's how we move out. We call it choosing our way out of the third dimension. The third, the fourth, the fifth numbers, they don't mean anything. They're just different experiences of consciousness, right?
Yeah, just a different, gear
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
move, just a different shift.
Yeah.
I noticed that there's a not, I'm a little different in relation to when I transmit. I kind of keep my eyes open, and there's it's like riding a horse, or a stallion that's or a bucking bull, and you kind of like you can see very clearly the transmission of that frequency that permeates through this physical expression, and it's sort of like you'll move with the frequency. And if you look closely enough, there are very specific traits of a channeling presence. And so you close your eyes, open your eyes. What do you feel more comfortable with when you're doing this? I mean, right now, both of us truly in the core of what we're speaking is coming from this place already.
Of
Yet
course,
we're sort of like, if we concentrate closer, it can seem a lot more dramatic. Oh, how do you experience it?
I am not closing my eyes. I'm sorry if it looks that way. Maybe I should put my glasses on. I'm not. I never do. I tried to do that in the beginning, um, because that's what everybody did.
Exactly. I just don't. I
It's one
don't.
of the worst
You know.
things. People are so discouraged because they're taught they have to do this, they have to do
Yeah.
this, they have to
That's
do
right.
this. They're taking these classes, and I'm not discouraging anybody from, that, but I tried to that too. And Joseph kept, "We'll wait. We'll be here when you get back, Cindy. We'll be here when you get back." And I finally said, "How come this isn't working?" Meanwhile, I'm having these conversations with them like I'm having right now.
As you are right now, you're consciously having this conversation, and then
Yes.
I'm a part of it. But it's very clear. It's
Yes,
really
because
powerful stuff.
yes, because I'm speaking from the collective me, and that includes me. So we teach oneness, we teach, inclusion, we teach, universal vibrational law, vibrational agreement. So we're teaching people, when you shift, when you shift your dominant vibration, which is your main focus most of the time, when you shift that to be dominant in your soul's vibration, the abilities that the soul has by vibrational communication are available to you. When you say struggle, or and I hear it all the time too, "I can't do it, it's too hard, yada yada." And I say, if you use those words, that vibration is those words are labels of out of alignment vibrations you're choosing to focus on. So that means you are not in alignment with your desire to channel, or whatever you want to call it, to communicate. You're not in alignment with it, so you can't do it. There has to be vibrational agreement. And you have to first believe that you can. I know it cracks me up now when I hear people say, she's a well, not that. Certain people are so gifted and I just can't do it. They just dismiss it. I just can't do it. This person's so gifted. The gift is expansion. The gift that you're giving yourself is expanding your awareness of who you are so you can get in the room that has no doors, no ceiling, no floor, where all that stuff is, that you can access now the abilities of who you really are, which is communication vibrationally. We call it the sixth sense, because it's a vibrational sense, and and really the crux of who we really are. Yet we choose the chaos because we hate it, but at least we know what we're going to get. We go,
The
wait a minute.
the addiction of humanists, the emotional content that can be distractive. And I mean, I just I love and resonate with all the things that you guys are sharing with us today, because and I say that with love, you guys, because
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that's
yeah.
being presented here today from many different frequencies. It's not just one; it's actually quite a few. And I mean, from an auric level, for most people, when they look at auras, when you start to break it down, it's like blood work. It's like a snapshot of your very existence on a second by second basis. But there's a few things that sort of become more of a theme that is consistent. So, when I teach people how to read auras, you just go from the mental, emotional, physical stuff that's transmitted from the field through your mental, emotional, acquiring virtue to emotional state. So you want the virtue revealed from the dissolving of emotions, and so that is then revealed, and you get to see that. But in essence, you can snapshot and see where people are, and your aura is just, pulsating in this sort of like velvet, sort of like violet color, and this gold aura. I mean, gold halo, and then the speckles of
See.
like gold stardust that's coming from you is crazy.
Oh, wow. Thanks for
Yeah,
saying that, because I don't normally see stuff, although I have been seeing you surrounded by a lot of colors. Is that what I'm seeing? Because
sure,
I
absolutely.
don't see auras. I never have before.
Yeah,
And I'm watching you as you're speaking, and I see shades of, gold and purple coming across your face, and then when you said the gold halo above, I can see gold above my head right now.
yeah, yeah.
And I've never seen that before, so wow,
Yeah,
thank
yeah, yeah, it's like a sensory perception. I mean, it to me, I categorize it all under that. People talk about senses. Honestly, I don't think there's a limit.
right.
You sort of get to a point where there really is no limit. It sort of is created by how much you embrace the
Yeah,
very experience you're having. And for
yeah.
me, it happened many years ago where I literally woke up and it was like a computer screen full of icons. And so my whole existence was looking at everything, and everywhere I looked, it was information, colors, and it just overload. And quite frankly, there was a moment there where I was like, I don't think I want this. This is a little too extreme.
That's
And
yeah,
so you just focus on something, and then it will reveal itself, and then you just go deeper, and it's sort of like deeper dimensional shifts. And most of the stuff is just sitting out there. I mean, when I do psychic drive-bys, psychic reading drive-bys, it's just most people. I'll ask them, "Would you like me to read your aura?" And they're like, sure, magic man. Why don't you read my aura?" And I'm like, "Okay, look, I'm just excited to share just something that I'm in present moment experiencing." And they're like, "Yeah, go ahead," like thinking, "Yep, okay, that's not going to happen." I start getting down into, because I just go through the energy centers, and then you go, we there's not, for a Taoist, there's normally 9 that you look at that are just present, right? And so they're the first 9 that connect you, between you and the universe. Ultimately, there are infinite amount, but let's just say that will get you going, humming like like a Ferrari, if you want to say that. But I mean, it was really interesting because you get to the first or second, and by the time I get to their sexual energy, they're like, "Stop, okay, we're good." And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?"
it's the best part.
Well, because the information's there, and I think one of the reasons that I find it so easy is, yes, I have guidance of Latsu, but I find it easy because I just take it at face value. I'm not invested in it. I'm not looking for someone to tell me I'm the next coming of, Jesus Christ, or I'm the next psychic medium extraordinaire. I'm not looking for the validation. And when that happens, it's a funny, weird phenomenon that I've witnessed where you are present. There's no place, person, or thing. There's no title. And within that present moment, you're able to access something that is just seems unobtainable to most people. And then it comes out. So I agree when you talk about the fear, the emotions, the construct that makes it trapped to the 3D reality is like literally that present moment for me seems to be the right into the secret source.
Yeah,
And it doesn't really take a lot, but most people, as you have mentioned, and I used to notice, is they feel like it's so much. It's someone else's journey. They're not good enough. And I mean, you go through the list of things, and once you help them demystify that and dissolve that, they have this comeuppance, this wake upance, this realization of what true source is, and that they've always had it. It's always been there. It's right here. It's like the entry level to all things. What
well,
are your
Jesus said it.
pardon me?
Jesus said it. The kingdom
Yeah.
of God is within you.
Right, right,
God
right,
consciousness is within you.
right. And so, when you get that type of stuff, and now how do you notice? You've been doing this quite a long time. So
Yes.
what is your observation and your how do people um receive you in this current environment now that it seems to be quite fashionable? back in the day when you and I were, cutting our teeth on this stuff, and most people would be like, okay, this is number 3. This person's 4 cents short of $1. We got the paddy wagon for him in the straitjacket. Let's
Yeah.
go. Come on.
Yeah.
How was it
My
today?
own younger brother told my mother, "Don't talk to Cindy anymore. She thinks God talks to her."
Mm.
So he went, so that beliefs, right? His belief. So they're so powerful. So, I don't pay much attention to anybody much anymore. The audiences, excuse me, the audiences, I have seen a nice flow of acceptance and understanding, and just recent. In the beginning, it was bad. In the beginning, I was a liar, and I wasn't really channeling because I didn't look like this person, and channel doesn't say this, and the channel doesn't say that, and I was, like whatever, okay. And then it started to change, and when I started really saying, "This is what it is, this is what we teach, and this is what I'm exempling for you." And the problem I hear mostly from my clients, and I hear from other channels on other shows talk about too, that so many people, and I've seen it on the comments, people are saying, "I'm so glad she said that. I've been feeling it too. I'm so glad she said I don't have to do this." I'm like, "You don't have to do anything. Everything you can choose how you want to experience it." And people don't understand that. I didn't for a long time, but it's a pathway of discovery, but people are understanding now vibration more and more and more. I hear I hear the questions about it, and I hear more and more talking about vibration. That's pretty much all we talk about. But because it is the for us, the foundation of moving forward is to understand who you really are. And that's how you create differently. And we've created a mess here, collectively. And in order to change that, we have to change our dominant vibration of the collective. And it's happening. You can see it happening, the expansion. It's the shift in consciousness. We're moving toward love. I mean, this has been going on for eons of time. Ever since we entered the third dimension, we've been evolving out of it. It's just another experience. We're eternal. So, you know, um, but I see it opening up more and more, and people saying, asking, um, I mean, through my clients, we teach the teachers, and so many of them are at this, very unique but same level of understanding, and they get it. They just get it. What's the next step? They're saying, "What's the next step?" And they resonate with the vibration that we give off. Joseph told me very early on, before the books were even in my head, that everything we do, and I didn't understand it then, but boy, I do now. Everything we'll do will everything we do will call its own audience vibrationally, and it does. So I don't market anything. I don't see that as the way, but it does. And the people that we have gotten, bar none, have been teachers, established teachers, and they're connected, and they're offering teaching to people who are searching. It's wonderful. We try to throw in our 2 cents, our vibrational 2 cents, any chance I get.
Well, so, with this understanding, it's kind of like, how do you, I mean, I'm not going to assume everyone can sample the frequencies that I'm sampling at all different types of levels. I'm having a party here right now, but I can't assume that the audience is going to have that same degree of sensory perception yet. I'm not dismissing anyone, because honestly, I literally fell into this instantaneously 30 years ago, and the magnitude of it has only increased, and it's
Yeah,
pretty much been at 1,000% full force nonstop.
yeah.
So how do you sort of like translate it? So when you connect with people, it's a resonance
Mhm.
that people validate
Yeah,
the very messaging that Joseph is giving you to share with your collective.
yeah.
And so how does that sort of translate into a validation? I mean, it's undeniable for me. I'm
Yeah.
experiencing it, and I'm experiencing it at all different levels of sensory perception, and it's palpable.
Yeah.
How does it translate for, say for example, you're getting someone, you have a client, you're teaching someone. How do they validate the very experience that Josef is sharing with them, so that they feel not only by giving you're getting they're getting your support and you're getting their group support, but how do they validate? So when they're experiencing this stuff, what does it mean to them in relation to their own journey, awareness? Does it translate? Do you translate into? For me, I kind of like it. Kind of translates into physical healings,
Mm,
mental, emotional healings. This is what I've been witnessing from the beginning, and so it's very easy for me to go, okay, well, that's in your mind, but if I see physical flesh alter before my very eyes in 3D, like wiggle and transmute and go back to its default state with my eyes open,
yeah.
that's undeniable. I can't change that. Or a mental state where they meet you and they may be plagued with emotional
Mm,
lower frequency, and
yeah.
then just through being in the presence of yourself and Joseph, all of a sudden they're never the same. They're altered. That's literally how fast these things can happen, ladies and gentlemen. Just in case you're not aware, being in the presence of Joseph right now, and Cindy, you're experiencing change. Change is happening as we speak because it's a frequency, it's a resonance that you can't deny. And for all the OGs of the channel, my students, anyone that is familiar with my teaching, you can sit here and you can palpate the energy that's being transmitted right now. So
It's
how
nice.
would you translate it for people that you share this with?
I don't even know how to answer that question. Um, I can tell you this, that as we said before, the collective is front and center when we are in front of someone all the time. When I'm zoning out watching Breaking Bad, they're not.
Mhm.
Um, but there is a resonance, and we can always feel it. I don't think I've had I had one, that didn't say that without we don't press. We don't tell people what to do. We say, "This is what's available," you know? "This is what's available, and this is how you discover it. This is how we teach through emotional deciphering, and understanding our perspective of the ego aspect." And shifting perspective about those kind of taught hardcore beliefs that nobody really understands. The ego is really bad, and they call it out there, and it's called many things. We don't teach fearful beliefs, but we encourage people to, after we spend time together, just like I'm sure your clients too, they feel the difference. If they choose to do the process that Joseph gives them, whichever one it may be, if they choose to do it, then they'll shift. I felt I get a lot of kudos to Joseph, after the fact, about how they've shifted. But I don't know, if they continue to focus that way or not. I know for myself coming up, with so many different teachers along my journey to get to this point, teacher after teacher after teacher, and it was beautiful unfolding. Now that I look at it now, I understand why it went that way, and some I took the advice of, and some I didn't.
Hmm. Okay.
And, I always tell people, you know, something's gonna resonate with you, and follow that resonation until something else resonates with you. Because that, for me anyway, was the way I could understand now, not then, where that I was actually evolving. Every new step had a new teacher. Duh, of course. You know, of course. Until you understand enough of who you really are, where you start understanding the uh, soul vibration of you, and that is really your teacher. That's why people say, go inside, go inside. Yes, yes. People don't trust it because we're taught not to by
Well,
many different ways. So
I think it's conceptual for most when we talk about this stuff, because go inside, okay, give me the
yeah,
manual on
that
what
means
that, what does that really mean? And I mean, most people are kind of addicted to the Hollywood
yeah,
translation of that. And I mean, just from Tom Campbell's own admission, the large consciousness system will give you whatever you need right now. Being, if you believe that your experience has got to do with, you know, battling the evil dragon to prevail and save the damsel in distress, then you will get the very dramatic dualistic sort of like um, idea of reality, or a non-dualistic idea, non-dual duality, as we know. It's how do we where do we go with that? How does it translate? And I really, my own my own observation is there is no right or wrong way up the mountain, and it happens for you how you choose it to. And I think the thing that will validate you more than anything is something that you find that can be repeatable, and then you can experience it again and again. And what I've found is it becomes more palpable and instantaneous. Like, maybe it took me a minute or two 30 years ago to focus on Latsu, and Latsu is like one fraction of a picosecond away from transmission, if not already. It's sort of just this now moment, and
you're
it's,
blended.
pardon me.
You're blended.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that there's nothing. I think that's absolutely powerful in of itself, because I mean, the automatic writing per se, I can sit here and literally, he could be giving me information that is never ending. And
Right.
like, he's filling in so much of like Chinese history that people get blown away by, because I bring the information out, and like, where do you get this from? And it's like, I'm getting it from what I consider direct source.
Yeah.
And so, the foundations of China as we know it, just the infrastructure, the culture, was derived from one of my other teachers, Yellow Emperor. And he was validated from, up to 6,000 BC through pictographs and oracle bone reading. And to his own confession and own admission with one of my other teachers, Jade Emperor, that Taoism in of itself has been going on for tens of thousands, on and on and on. So just because as a human race, where there's a captured moment that we can validate, I guess maybe that's the answer. And whenever I reveal more information, people are just godsmacked. They're gobsmacked, sorry, because it's just like, how do you? I know it's real,
Right. Of
because it
course.
resonates with me. It's like, this stuff is palpable.
Yeah.
And so, and that would, I can just, uh, with my own experience with Joseph and Cindy, it's like, holy moly, is it real? I am literally sitting, facing the sun and enjoying the transmission that comes with it. And that's really, I always say, if you're thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you're feeling. And that feeling is really one of these big differentiators for anyone's experience, to really validate whatever it is they're experiencing.
Yeah, I
And
agree. I
and
absolutely
that resonance that you speak of, that's so important, is really all things, in my opinion. That's how you get. That's how you know you're there. You don't have to have someone tell you.
No
So
one can tell you. I don't How can someone
right,
tell you? It's.
you mentioned Paul
Feeling.
Selig. Is he a friend of yours, or?
No, I always think everybody knows who he is, I'm sorry. He is a channel. Um,
Okay.
he's written several books, wonderful, wonderful, connection. He has a very unique style of channeling. He teaches our messages, I guess, are parallel, and we are parallel with there are a lot of, uh, teachers teaching from this consciousness now. Of course there are. everybody's evolving. Everybody's evolving. We're all teaching what we came here to teach. You know, but his books he wrote the truth. They're like the Truth series or something. They're wonderful channel books, and he channels a collective that he refers to as the guides. Interesting, very interesting information there. Bashar is another one. Bashar, is along the same lines. We're all running parallel, all unique, messages. But he was somebody that I really trusted, and he was spot on, of course.
Wow.
Of course,
Wow.
he's wonderful. Yeah, look him up. You get a chance. He's very interesting guy.
Yeah, it's always something that you sort of like translate. Well, whenever I get into deep conversation with Latsu, and someone comes to me with what he considers the humanist, it's like, okay, well, this is part of the collective raising of the awareness, but he's always like, just imagine yourself as a grain of sand asking the beach, what are we doing today?
Exactly.
And when you dissolve back into that beach, you become one with all things instead of the consuming, incessant, like overreaching that comes with the human experience. And that's kind of like where he's like a little different than most. And maybe it's understanding the once you obtain from what we call within Taoism Wu Ji, which is the stillness between the breath in and the breath out, you become your default is being selfless. Your default is being absolutely in service to humanity, in service to the oneness, to all things. And then that just turns into, raising the collective consciousness, and that oversight of how you feel is just universal. It doesn't become subjective, where most people have an entropy level where their love version is not exactly the universal, but it might start with razor blades and bunny rabbits and end with this collective consciousness.
Yeah.
And that comes from the resonation. Just hanging out with you and Joseph for a minute, you just can't help but it's like a subatomic level, this sort of transmission, which is how you obtain the oneness. And people feel that, and
You have
that's
to feel it. I mean, that's how you know. If you feel the resonance, it's unmistakable. You might not have a name for it, but something's different. And so, that's basically what we teach too, is to really feel, to observe, and to acknowledge the way you're feeling. That tells you whether you're in or out of alignment. If you're mad and angry, lonely, sad, you know, all those out of alignment emotions manifest from out of alignment vibrations. So that's your first indication of what you are creating an experience of. Because the more, down to a physical body. I mean, the more you focus on fear and everything that comes underneath that umbrella, the out of alignment position of creating, and you just keep building momentum. This is what we've done here, building momentum, and all these experiences that are on that pathway that manifest from that vibration that's out of alignment they all suck. I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible choice, but most don't think they have a choice. I was shocked when people said, and I was one of them years ago, I guess, I don't know, never gave it much thought, but a lot of my clients have said, I never knew I had a choice. And that was surprising to me. But again, belief systems, what we're taught.
right.
Powerful belief system,
Do,
powerful.
do you ever take transmissions outside of Joseph now? Like you had mentioned, you were tapping into the collective of Abraham. Was that
Well,
something that you still stay in line with, or Joseph is part of Abraham?
Joseph is part of Abraham. We have our segment, oh, that's my word out there, our section of this consciousness that we've grabbed onto to assist humanity in moving to the new earth. is the segment that goes toward the new earth. So Joseph's vibration itself is of the new earth.
Mm.
They tell us this is, we represent for you the evolved version of you, and the evolved non-physical next version of the next physical aspect that we will shift into by choosing it consciously is already in its non-physical form on this non-physical new earth. In order for us to experience it, we need to be a vibrational match to it. So that's what we're doing, but we can't take any fear with us, you know? You got to throw those bags out because there's no vibrational agreement, which is why we are harping, my word, proud of that, harping on belief systems. You have to create a new belief system in order to move into that space and start creating from it. You have to create a belief system that is in alignment with where you're going, or you stay here, which is your choice. That's fine. I'm leaving. I am going.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the you know another dear friend of mine, Hans Wilhelm, would always say, "I don't want this is my last re-up."
Yeah, I hear that a
So,
lot.
and I'm like, you get a lot of people that sort of get in that's the messaging they're getting very clear from their state of consciousness,
Yeah.
and I find it just sort of interesting because in 30 years I've worked with all different types of spirits, entities, JC, the big G, anything, I mean, just recently, as just a couple of weeks ago, Dolores Cannon, Art Bell were coming to me, and then before that, for whatever reason, I Bruce Lee was ripping my ear out there so I did a 2-part thing on my channel about what Bruce Lee's message was, and it's sort of like, okay, where are we coming from? I would say, generally speaking, I directly transmit Latsu, but I can have this mediumship relationship where I'm having a conversation with other spirits and entities, but not necessarily have it be the very tapestry of this physical form. Have you noticed this yourself with your own experience? Do you sort of immerse yourself in that sort of transmission, or you stay with Joseph, generally speaking?
Well, my perspective is I did dabble in the mediumship in the beginning. It came very natural to me. I never questioned it. But I only did it for friends and family and kind of give myself some practice. And it was an amazing experience. I saw the healing happen. And that's what really opened me up to vibrational communication, speaking it. That was my first, because I wasn't afraid of it. It wasn't this big thing in the sky, it wasn't what we were taught it was. I didn't know it was part of me, so I was just having fun. And it came through very easily. And I'm a big JC was the first one that came to me too, and he is part of the Joseph group, um, on a certain level of that. The collective is 7, and they tell me a couple of years ago that there's like 12 now. I don't know. They don't do the separation. They're telling me that, so I will welcome in and invite in the different feelings of them. They're all in alignment, but they're all unique, and so they're all one clump of uniqueness. So I can access anybody that I focus on. And this is another, and we would just say that it's part of the ability of your soul. And when you're in alignment with your soul, you have that ability because there's no resistance to it, you know? And it's not so strange anymore. When you know who you are, you go, oh yeah, of course I can do, of course I can do that. You don't say I can't, you say, of course I can. Of course I can. Abraham has been teaching for years that one in alignment is more powerful than a million who aren't, because of this resonation we're talking about and the creative space being dominant. When you create from love, it's the most powerful force of the universe, you know, and we can just choose to.
Well, yeah, that universal. I always preface that because there is a subjective until it's you know universal or objective. It is subjective to your experience.
Well, it's
And
exactly
so,
right.
and so, as you as the polarizing effects of being at one with all things sort of, uh, you know, um, dilute the lower frequency stuff, and it just becomes the very, essence and your directive, basically who you are expressing in every level.
Right.
Initially, it's kind of that sort of like, and I mean, I tell a lot of people, it's like you always have a choice, just like you said. For me, I just put the information in a situation where sometimes outside of Latsu, when people are knocking on the door, it's optional whether I open it or not.
That's right.
And
It's your choice. It's always your choice. But
yeah,
it's nothing to be scared of. It's
well,
like, it breaks my heart now because, I mean, came up to, I came up to, I took the journey that everybody's going through. We never stopped journeying. So we're all where we are. And it was, I look back now and Joseph says, no, it's just, it's the discovery of the journey. Don't feel bad for anybody. I feel bad for the human side of me still does. I feel bad for people who say, I can't do that. I can't. I'm like, you don't know what you're missing. Holy cow. And you have nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain.
yeah, yeah.
Live in love and live in joy and peace and be excited about, whatever's going on out there. Who cares? You're still creating your own experience of this realm and you choose it. And you can't experience a vibration that you're not in alignment with, in agreement with. So that in itself is a huge message. What are you looking over there for? You know what you're going to experience over there. Look over there. It's better. The grass really is greener.
So what's the big message from Joseph and the collective of what are we experiencing right now? What are we looking at proceeding this next couple of months? How does it? What's your messaging? I mean, Latsu is always very clear. It's like the myopic stuff becomes irrelevant. The mundane day to day existence of what human beings consume by their very expression. When you become one with all things, the group collective is selflessness, love, complete fluidity. And the
Yeah,
more and more we realize that, the more and more it becomes this shifting that
another
you
reality.
mentioned from three to four to fifth dimensional, and this love that you're speaking of. What's the message from Joseph and the guys there?
Well, when we have this question, and of course, everyone is talking about what's in store for humanity. Or is it Armageddon? Are we going to blow ourselves up and all this fearful stuff?
Mhm.
And many, we want to say this, that many say, it's Revelation, it's Armageddon, the humanity is over. And we say, you didn't read the last chapter of the new earth. It's the new earth. John wrote about the new earth after the mess. So we're in the mess. But we say that we don't play with predictions because we are of the understanding that the choices that you make are your choices when you are choosing, because you are creating all of it. And it is your choice of what the next day holds, what the next moment holds. It's a moment by moment choosing. And when we get the question, how, if there is a God, how could he allow what happens here? And we say, how could you allow what's happening there? You are causing it, you are creating it by your choosing. It all comes down to your choosing individually and then, of course, collectively. So we don't predict. We say, focus on your own alignment individually. Individually, get in touch with your soul aspect, learn about it, be on that path of discovery, and begin creating from love. And you must shift your own experience individually and collectively. You must shift. We can't shift it for you. This next segment of the human's evolution is all about self-responsibility and taking total responsibility for everything that you create and experience, because it is at its core, its foundation, vibrational. And no one can choose your vibration for you. You are in total control of your physical vibration by way of your focus. So you must shift yourself. And as you shift yourself, you shift the universe. When you are focused on alignment with your soul, you are focused on the God consciousness, the creative power of the God consciousness, which is love, where there is no lack, there's no war, there's no famine, there's no abuse. There's only love and abundance of everything. And you must create that for yourselves.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's like perhaps Lao Tzu and Joseph are good friends. Who knows? I
They're
think
in the same consciousness.
they're all from the same conscious. I mean, the biggest red flag is, I always tell people, if you want a red flag and you're still operating in a duality, fear is the biggest catalyst of that. That's the first thing. You stop, you take a deep breath, and take a moment to process exactly what it is that you're being shared and whether that's really what it is. But fear will always be the distraction. Fear will be the biggest lie in the room. And then there's subsections of that, and
Unlimited. Yeah.
unlimited. And so, I mean, I just, it's so beautiful hearing that from you and Joseph, because I am, a lot of people are not so excited when I share with them. Lao Tzu is very, how do I put it? He just says, people are going to be very disappointed when the world doesn't explode and brimstone and fire doesn't fall out of the sky, and this so-called
Jesus doesn't come riding on a horse in the clouds.
right, and this so-called predicted Armageddon, it will not take place, because there's far more messages like the ones that are coming from Lao Tzu, from Joseph. And that's the true essence of things, in my opinion. And I'm never going to dismiss, look, if someone wants to run with this and that's what they're getting, I just personally, from my experience, that if you start to dust off that emotional state that people have acquired this information from, and it happens to be fear, it's always a lie. It never has not been. Now, that's from my experience. And I could share that with someone and say, hey, look, this is from my experience. And people will say, well, I appreciate that, and that's your truth. And I'm like, absolutely, that's my truth, just as it is your truth. And your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with, which I always remind people of. So it's like, it's kind of like, I'm just so excited listening to Joseph and hearing you, because it's so powerful. But moreover, a lot of the OGs, my students, can experience what you're transmitting, and you do it. The effortless action that we speak of is in that form, and it is transformative. It really is transformative.
Can't be any effort there. I'm in alignment.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you
It's
so
just,
much for having us.
yes,
So
I
much.
really, really appreciate you coming in. I want to thank you. I want to thank the universe for bringing you into my life. And in closing, I'll just ask you one question. What's your definition of consciousness?
Wow. I used to have a very fast answer for this. What do you guys say? I actually wrote this, and now I can't. I'm totally blank. Consciousness is momentum of energy, isn't it? Vibration, pockets and pockets of vibration, and vibrational agreement and creation of everything. Just creation of every. It's so big, unlimited experience, probabilities and possibilities of experience and expansion.
I don't know. I could listen to you all day. So I'm not going to be so self-absorbed to immerse in the gift that you guys are giving us right now. But I could. It's like, oh, you don't need to go anywhere. Don't worry about it. So just keep going. Come
I
on.
wish I could. I wish I could. I hope you'll ask us back.
Pardon me?
I hope you'll ask us back.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to
chat.
revisit this conversation in the very near future. So in closing, I'm going to leave all your social media under this podcast.
Thank you.
And would you like to share with the audience what you offer to them today?
It's all on the website, teachingsofjoseph.com. We do private sessions. Their books are on there. I'll take you to Amazon. Can download the 7 steps. We'd like to point out to encourage people to go to that link. They can read the 7 steps. The videos are on the YouTube channels on there, everything, and you can download a free copy of the PDF. You don't have to put anything in there, just download it. It's on that link too, of the 7 steps of self-discovery and healing. And we encourage everyone to get those. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Yes.
Thank you to the collective and all that they transmit and resonate with. Just that it's so powerful. I don't have words, and I'm literally my chest is about to explode. It's just it really is so strong. Whoa. You get used to it. Yes, I've got and I'm not going to call it a game phase, but I'm used to enjoying this stuff. But if I actually let it go, I mean, I'm like I could go everywhere right now. There's so much.
Well, that's good to hear. Good. Maybe it'll hold over.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate you. I want to thank you. I want to thank the audience. And I'm your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing. And I will see you on the next one, guys.